Welcome in to the Quest Number 9 podcast. My name is Seth Warner, and on this podcast, we talk about Kentucky basketball from a fan's perspective. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about Kentucky's practices and them heating up, with Kentucky going from 8 hours a week of training and on the court practice time to 20 minutes or 20 hours of time, where NCAA rules change going after this past week is the first week of that. So with Kentucky, like I said, now having going from that 8 to 20, Kentucky's really ramping up as we get closer to that October 24th first preseason game for the Wildcats, and as we close in to Big Blue Madness coming up on in 3 weeks. And for Kentucky, like I said, we're expanding our time with the players on the court. We're getting more and more information. Coach Pope and some of his staff is putting up more clips of practices. But overall, some of the takeaways just have been that some guys have really started out well in this kind of new section, a little bit of a new feel compared to what we previously been doing with more of a workout based, only 8 hours a week of on court instruction. And there's some limitations to that with certain things they can do. And also, like I said, there have been some guys that stood out, some guys have not. Cam Williams was a guy that seems like he's been playing really well with a lot of confidence. A guy that came in really slow starting out the season, but really has started to impress some of the scouts and some of just the coaches with his shooting ability. Off the dribble was a question coming out of summer practices and workouts. It feels like he's grown some confidence, and we know that he's going to be a knockdown shooter no matter what, and a guy that's linky on defense and can just be disruptive. And yeah, for Kentucky, as certain guys have really been able to stand out, Jalen Lowe, I would take away he's not full go yet, but that's going to be in the next week or so. But overall, Kentucky's really had a balanced kind of practice with some guys taking the lead, some guys not. They said after having a really hot first week, shooting over 70% from three in a week, struggled this past week, and then coming into this week, had some ups and downs and just hit some bumps in the road. That's expected as an international prospect, trying to transition to American culture and how American basketball is played. And overall, just the size and length and some of the gifts that he is gifted with, I think will really allow him to elevate his game and be able to just do a lot of different things on the floor. And also, Colin Chandler looking really comfortable in this Kentucky system after 1 year under Mark Pope, a guy that was listed on a breakout player list and is one of Kentucky's highest upside players, especially on the perimeter, with his 6'5", lengthy, athletic build, who can really shoot it. Showed some of that ability, shooting 45% in the last month of the season last year. He's just one of Kentucky's premier perimeter defenders, and a guy that coming out with a high 4-star potential McDonald's All-American before taking a 2-year break, has really been able to solidify himself as one of Kentucky's key rotational players, as I see as him as a secure, my thought is at least sixth man and maybe pushing for that starting spot is how I see him. Also, Jasper Johnson has had a lot better start to the fall semester than he did for summer practices. Really confident, played well, made shots. The physicality is still an issue. He doesn't do great creating, and then once he gets bumped or is not able to get past the guy, he has a high tendency to make or to shoot bad shots and to just get out of his own rhythm and out of his own way, but has really be able to make shots and make good decisions early on in this fall practice and as we get closer on. Mo Diabate is also just Mo Diabate is how I would describe how he's been playing. Just Mr. Consistent defense is everything you want to do for the little things. He's just a very high energy player and has been able to really impact Kentucky in multiple ways on defense and offense, with offense his ability to put it on the floor and just be one of Kentucky's premier guys just with the ball in his hands and as a creator and as a distributor with his passing also. Malachi Moreno keeps on doing Malachi Moreno things, just being solid and as one of Kentucky's just firm foundation guys. Also, BG has been able to really show off some stuff. We got some reports talking about him leading the summer in assisted turnover ratio. That's really good to hear, but feels like he's taken up even another notch with intensity and just overall his desire, his just pursuit to be the best player he can possibly be at Kentucky. And also this week, another big kind of news is Kentucky has 3 visitors coming up this weekend. Anthony Thompson, a guy that we've talked about, big 6'9", 6'10"-ish wing who can just do a lot of different things, really long, really talented player. He can just do a lot of different things as one of the better upside wings, one of the highest upsides in the class, and a guy that's been really rising up the recruiting rankings over the last 4 or 5 months. The guy that's just really was able to show all the pieces at the 3SB championship and really impressed a lot of people, putting his whole game together with the shooting, the handles, and the size and his length with having that 7'5" wingspan at his size. Another guy visiting, I know we probably talked about him a little bit, another Christian Collins, a small forward, 2026 guy. Kentucky's shown quite a bit of interest. His visit is coming up on the 26th through the 28th. 5-star, top 13 player in the country, really physically talented, big, athletic. 200, could put on some more muscle, but still really strong and skilled, and is one of the best players out of California and is coming on a visit for Kentucky, and a guy that Kentucky has had on the radar for a while. Cam Williams is another player that Kentucky is looking at, and he's coming on a visit this coming weekend. 6'10", 200-pound power forward. Really, all these guys are really skilled. All of them can put on some weight, but can just do a lot of different things with the ball in their hands. Can all shoot, are very versatile. Wing, small forward, power forward, and just guys who can really take advantage of mismatches and be kind of a Cooper Flag-esque and some of these bigger wings that Kentucky struggled with this past season. Kentucky could have some upside having one of those guys on the roster who are high athletes. And Kentucky right now, this is their last real recruiting weekend until Big Blue Madness, the October 10th through the 12th weekend. And that's when Kentucky season really tips off and will be starting to heat up. And Kentucky will have 3 different visitors that weekend: Josh Irving, Ethan Taylor, and Jordan Smith Jr. Jordan Smith Jr. we've talked about a little bit. The 6'2" shooting guard, really athletic, who guy just bowling ball, physical specimen, only 200 pounds, but is a really guy who can get downhill. But if you compare him to the other wings that were 200 pounds, he's a big old boy. But overall, Kentucky, just our schedule for recruiting is starting to get into that last stretch before high school basketball starts. Tyron Stokes, my understanding is there's no official date for that just yet, but Kentucky is going to start heating up that recruitment in heavy pursuit for him. And Caleb Holt is probably a one or the other situation. My projection for next year's roster, I enjoy looking at that kind of stuff. Caleb Holt, I would have as him and Tyron Stokes is kind of that shooting guard position, small forward. Just depends on how you place guys. But we'll see as we get into the later stages of the recruitment in high school basketball season. And that's all from the Quest Number 9 podcast. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. And you can go find me at Quest Number 9 on Instagram and Twitter. And stay tuned for next week's episode, and I'll see you then.